An elderly woman rescued a small kitten, but when her unusual pet grew up, she nearly screamed in horror. Rose lived in a quaint little house at the edge of town. After her husband passed away, her world grew quiet, and each day seemed to blend into the next. The only joy that remained was her garden, a burst of color and life she tended with care and love. Every morning, Rose would rise with the sun, brew a warm cup of tea, and settle into her old rocking chair on the veranda. There, she would sway gently, sipping slowly, her eyes fixed on the beauty of nature around her as she reminisced about the happy years she'd spent with her beloved. Though neighbors often invited her to join gatherings or outings, Rose found herself choosing solitude. Loneliness became a quiet, constant companion. One chilly autumn evening, as wind rustled the trees and raindrops began to tap on the roof, a strange sound drifted through her yard. Wrapping a warm shawl around her shoulders, Rose stepped onto the porch and listened carefully. The noise came again, a soft, pitiful squeak, unmistakably the cry of a kitten. The rain was picking up, and for a moment she hesitated, but the mewling grew louder, more desperate. With a flashlight in hand, she stepped into the wet night, her slippers dampened by the grass. She circled the house, the beam of light scanning the shadows, until it landed on a small, shivering bundle near the base of an old oak tree. Her heart clenched. Without hesitation, Rose knelt and scooped up the tiny creature, holding it close against her chest. It was a kitten, no bigger than her palm, with gray-brown fur, damp and matted, and wide, terrified eyes. Thunder cracked in the distance, and the kitten clung tightly to her sweater, trembling violently. Rose hurried back inside, feeling its rapid heartbeat fluttering against her own. She gently washed the kitten with warm water, wrapped it in a soft towel, and offered it a shallow bowl of warm milk. It drank eagerly before, curling up in her lap and falling fast asleep. Rose stayed up all night, listening to its tiny breaths, fearful it might fall ill from the cold. But by morning, the kitten was alert and playful. It began exploring its new home with lively curiosity. Rose, already attached, named him Milo. She took him to the local vet, Dr. Harris, who assured her that Milo was in good health, though he would need extra care at his young age. As the days passed, Rose's life took on new color. Milo was clever, energetic, and unusually alert. He made her laugh with his antics and brightened the long, quiet hours. But soon, she began to notice things that set him apart from the typical house cat. His bright yellow eyes were unusually round, his cheeks puffier than normal, and his legs short and thick. Rose brushed it off as a quirk of his breed. Despite his squat little legs, Milo could climb anything. He scaled curtains with ease and spent hours perched on the windowsill, eyes fixed on birds and butterflies. He grew faster than most kittens, his fur thickening, especially around his cheeks and tail, giving him a plush, wild appearance. Rose adored him. She spoiled him with treats and toys, including a stuffed mouse that Milo stalked and attacked with startling precision. She'd watch him crouch low, muscles tensed, before launching at it like a miniature panther. While she worked in the garden, Milo followed her faithfully, weaving between her legs and keeping a watchful eye on every movement. Evenings were their favorite time. He curled up in her lap as she read or watched TV, purring deeply. Over time, Rose noticed a change within herself. She moved more, smiled more, and felt less alone. Even her aching joints seemed less bothersome. One warm afternoon, as she tended to her flowers, Milo walked alongside her through the garden beds. Suddenly, he froze, ears pricked forward. Rose looked up just in time to see a small field mouse darting across the grass. In one swift motion, Milo sprang forward and caught the creature in a perfect pounce. Rose blinked, stunned. He was still just a kitten, how could he hunt so well? Proud, she bought him a little blue leash, hoping to take him out and show him off. But Milo wanted none of it. At the sight of the leash, he bolted under the bed and refused to come out. Loud sounds seemed to unsettle him. He'd flatten his ears and scurry away whenever the vacuum turned on or the phone rang. As the days grew colder and winter approached, his coat thickened into a dazzling silver hue. It shimmered in the sunlight and made him look even larger than before. Then, one snowy morning, Rose woke to find the front door slightly ajar. Panicked, she rushed outside, and there was Milo bounding joyfully through the snow, chasing snowflakes like they were butterflies. Most cats hated the cold, but Milo reveled in it. He refused to come inside until she bribed him with his favorite treat. And yet, little oddities kept surfacing. He ignored catnip entirely but loved chewing on garden twigs and certain grasses. Curious, Rose began keeping track of his habits. Then, one quiet afternoon, something happened that chilled her. While dusting the living room, she accidentally knocked a vase off the shelf. It shattered loudly. Instantly, Milo became a blur of silver, darting under the couch. But instead of a frightened meow, a low, guttural growl came from beneath the furniture. The sound was deep, wild, like something out of the forest. It rumbled through the room, unsettling and strange. Rose froze. What kind of sound was that? She slowly knelt down, peering into the dark space beneath the couch, trying to understand how something so small could make a noise so feral. Then came another surprise. One day, her longtime friend Margaret came over for tea. As she entered the house, Milo, perched high on the windowsill, stared at her with unblinking intensity. Margaret stopped in her tracks. "My goodness, Rose! What kind of animal is that?" she exclaimed, pointing. "He doesn't look like a regular cat at all." Her voice was high with disbelief, her finger trembling. Those words stayed with Rose long after Margaret had gone. She began to watch Milo more closely, day and night, questioning every movement, every glance, every strange behavior. Indeed, there was something undeniably unusual, almost wild, about his appearance. The rounded face, the small, sharp ears, the bushy tail. They didn't quite belong to a domestic cat. And then there were his eyes, too intelligent, too intense. They held something else entirely, something ancient and secret, as if they were windows into another world. After several days of quiet observation filled with unease and curiosity, Rose made a decision. She would take Milo to the vet once more. Her hands trembled as she gently coaxed the strange creature into his carrier. Her heart pounded, unsure of what truths might be waiting. Harris, the town's most trusted veterinarian, spent a long time examining Milo. His expression shifted gradually, from professional focus to subtle disbelief. He checked the teeth, the eyes, the dense, silvery fur. His brows knit tighter with each new observation. Occasionally, he shook his head and scribbled something on his clipboard. "You know, Mrs. Miller," he finally said, his voice slow and measured, "I'm not entirely sure. But this fluffy little one might not be an ordinary cat. Sorry to interrupt the story, but if you're enjoying it so far, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Thank you." His dental structure is irregular, and this coat, I've never seen anything quite like it in my 30 years of practice. He continued, carefully running his fingers through Milo's thick fur, his tone a mix of professional awe and quiet concern. "We'll need to do some further testing." The next few days were filled with tension. Rose jumped at every ring of the phone, her nerves stretched thin. Her thoughts were consumed by the vet's words echoing in her head like a question without an answer. What if Milo wasn't a cat at all, at least not in the way she thought? The idea unsettled her, but it also filled her with wonder. She began documenting everything. His odd habits, his reactions to the cold, the peculiar sounds he made. She snapped photos, recorded videos, compiling a quiet archive of evidence. It gave her something to do while she waited. And then the call came. Harris's voice on the other end was firm but serious. He asked her to come in. There was something important they needed to discuss. Rose's heart raced as she walked into the clinic, clutching Milo to her chest. The cat was unusually still, his golden eyes steady and unblinking, as if sensing the weight of the moment. "Mrs. Miller, Dr. Harris said, leaning forward behind his desk, "The results are remarkable. Milo is not a domestic cat. He's a Pallas's cat, also known as Manal, a rare wild feline native to the remote steppes of Central Asia." He flipped open a thick book, revealing a photograph of a stocky, wild cat with thick, silver fur, round cheeks, and fierce eyes. The resemblance was uncanny. Rose felt the room sway. She gripped the arm of her chair, trying to steady herself as the realization sank in. Harris continued gently, explaining that Pallas's cats are a protected species, listed in the Red Book of Endangered Animals. They are solitary by nature and avoid human contact. In fact, they are known to be among the least domesticated wild cats on Earth. They require specific care, precise environmental conditions, and a diet far beyond what Rose could provide. "You've done something incredible, Mrs. Miller," he said, with true admiration in his voice. "He's healthy, socialized, even calm. That's rare, but now we need to consider what's best for him." He placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder, seeing the whirlwind of emotions play across her face. When Rose returned home that evening, the world felt heavier. The truth had changed everything, and yet, in many ways, it changed nothing. Milo was still the same creature who curled up on her lap, the same one who chased shadows in the snow and watched her with those golden eyes. But now, she carried the knowledge of who he truly was. And that knowledge carried weight. Her mind spun with thoughts that kept her awake at night. Could she really let him go? The bond they had formed was unlike anything she'd known since losing her husband. Milo had brought life back into her home, into her heart. But love, she realized, wasn't just about keeping. It was also about letting go when letting go was right. She researched. She spoke to conservationists, wildlife experts, people who truly understood the complexities of raising a wild species. She listened, she cried, and finally, she made her decision. With trembling hands, she signed the paperwork. The pages blurred as tears streamed onto the ink, each signature a goodbye written in slow motion. She had agreed to transfer Milo to a wildlife rehabilitation center, a sanctuary designed to care for endangered animals and prepare them for life in the wild. It would be the best chance for him to live as he was meant to. The day of their farewell was the hardest day of her life. The sky was gray, mirroring her sorrow. As she held Milo for the last time, her fingers memorized the softness of his fur, the weight of his body, the warmth he had brought into her life. Tears fell freely as she whispered goodbye, brushing her lips against his forehead, hoping he could feel the depth of her love. Milo, as if sensing the gravity of the moment, purred softly and nuzzled against Rose's hands. His golden eyes held a quiet understanding, something deep and knowing. It was as if he, too, recognized that this goodbye, painful as it was, had to happen. Their bond was strong, but nature was calling him home. The staff at the rehabilitation center spoke gently and with empathy. They assured Rose that Milo would be in expert hands, cared for with compassion and professionalism. They promised regular updates, photos, detailed reports, and honest reflections on his progress. Their kindness wrapped around her like a warm blanket, offering comfort in the midst of her sorrow. Back home, the house felt emptier than ever. Time slowed to a crawl. Days blurred into weeks, and weeks into long, silent months. Without Milo's soft paw steps and playful mischief, every corner of the house echoed with his absence. But the updates came just as promised. With each one, Rose felt a surge of mixed emotions: pride, joy, and an aching sense of loss. Milo had grown considerably. His once small, kitten-like body was now powerful and defined. Under the guidance of skilled trainers, his instincts had sharpened. He no longer played with toys or curled up on laps. The comforts of domestic life held no interest for him now. He was becoming what he was always meant to be, a wild creature, fully in tune with his true nature. The specialists were encouraged by his progress. He had begun forming connections with other palaces' cats at the sanctuary, responding to their calls, mimicking their behaviors. They were confident that he would soon be ready for reintroduction into the wild. Then one crisp spring morning, Rose received a letter that made her heart skip a beat. She had been invited to witness Milo's release. The reserve was vast, a breathtaking stretch of land designed to mirror the steppes of Central Asia. Rolling hills stretched into the distance, dotted with hardy shrubs and windswept grasses. The air was fresh and full of life, and the sky stretched endlessly above them. Rose stood quietly among the handlers as they prepared Milo's transport cage. Her heart fluttered with both sorrow and hope. She had dreamt of this moment and dreaded it in equal measure. The cage door creaked open. For a moment, Milo stayed inside, blinking against the bright sunlight. He sniffed the air, his whiskers twitching. He moved slowly, cautiously, his body language more wild than domestic now. No longer the playful kitten who once curled in her lap. He was something else entirely. Something stronger. Then, with quiet purpose, he stepped out. He paused, surveying the open expanse ahead. His powerful body tensed beneath his thick silver coat, his muscles ready to move. He took a few tentative steps, then stopped. Rose held her breath. Suddenly, a flicker of movement in the distance caught everyone's attention. A second palace's cat, unmistakable even from afar, stood frozen, watching Milo with curious, cautious interest. Milo locked eyes with the other feline. Then, without hesitation, he ran swift and sure toward his kindred spirit. Gasps and quiet murmurs rippled through the gathered staff. It was rare, almost unheard of, for a once domesticated palace's cat to integrate so quickly, so naturally. And yet here he was, bounding across the grasslands with purpose and grace. A wild soul returned to where he belonged. Rose's heart broke and healed in the same breath. She watched them disappear together into the tall grass, two shadows melting into the land swallowed by their ancestral home. The tears on her cheeks were no longer just from sadness. They were tears of understanding, of release, of love. In that moment, Rose finally grasped what it truly meant to love something wild. It meant letting go. The temporary comfort of keeping Milo could never match the gift of freedom she had given him. He was no longer hers, but he was whole and he was free. The wind stirred the grasses around her as birds soared overhead, calling out into the endless blue. The staff whispered in awe at the success of the release, but Rose said nothing. She simply stood there, hands clasped tightly, heart full. She had done the right thing. This experience changed her. It opened her eyes to a world far beyond her quiet garden and cozy porch. It reminded her of the fragile beauty of wild nature and the deep responsibility we carry to protect it. Letting go of Milo had broken her heart, but it had also expanded it. She left the reserve lighter than she had arrived. Somewhere out there, beneath those open skies, Milo was running free, exactly where he was meant to be. Did you enjoy the story? Do you think Rose made the right decision? What would you have done in her place? Let us know in the comments below. If this story moved you, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who loves animals. Paw prints. Sometimes doing the right thing doesn't feel right at all, but it's still the right thing. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video, and until then, take care.